The morning sun cast golden rays through the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Cathedral. Michael Harrison, one of the city's youngest millionaires, adjusted his black bow tie for the 10th time. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. His bride, Rebecca Sterling, had swept him off his feet 6 months ago at a charity gala. She was everything he thought he wanted: elegant, charming, and seemingly devoted to their future together. Inside the mansion that morning, Grace Williams moved quietly through the halls, polishing surfaces that already gleamed. As the head housekeeper, she had worked for the Harrison family for 3 years. She took pride in her work, ensuring every detail was perfect for today's celebration. But something heavy weighed on her heart, a terrible secret she had discovered just 2 days ago. While cleaning Rebecca's temporary room, Grace had accidentally knocked over a jewelry box. Papers scattered across the floor, and what she saw made her blood run cold. Bank statements, love letters, and photographs that painted a picture of deception so elaborate it took her breath away. Rebecca wasn't just marrying Michael for love. She was the final piece of a carefully orchestrated con game. Grace had spent sleepless nights, wondering what to do. Who would believe a black maid's word against a beautiful white woman from high society? The evidence was damning, but speaking up meant risking everything: her job, her reputation, and possibly her safety. Yet as she watched Michael's genuine excitement about his future, she knew she couldn't stay silent. Some truths were too important to bury, no matter the cost. The clock struck 11. In 1 hour, the wedding would begin. Grace made her decision. She carefully gathered the evidence, placed it in an envelope, and prepared to do something that would change everyone's lives forever. Justice sometimes required ordinary people to do extraordinary things, even when the world seemed stacked against them. The cathedral was packed with 300 guests, all dressed in their finest attire. City officials, business partners, and socialites filled the pews, whispering about the perfect match between Michael and Rebecca. The ceremony had begun beautifully, with Rebecca looking radiant in her custom-designed gown worth more than most people's annual salary. Father Martinez's voice echoed through the vaulted ceiling as he spoke about love and commitment. Michael held Rebecca's hands, completely unaware that his future was built on lies. Rebecca smiled sweetly, but her eyes occasionally darted toward the exit, a nervous habit she thought no one noticed. Then came the moment that shattered everything. The massive wooden doors burst open with a thunderous crash. Every head turned as Grace Williams stormed down the aisle, still wearing her blue uniform and yellow cleaning gloves. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might explode, but she forced herself to keep walking. The shocked gasps of the congregation felt like physical blows, but she pressed forward. "Stop this wedding." Grace's voice cut through the sacred space like a blade. "Don't marry her, Mr. Harrison. She's a scammer, and I have proof." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Rebecca's face went white as fresh snow, then flushed red with rage. She gripped Michael's arm so tightly her nails left marks through his jacket. Michael stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what was happening. This was Grace, the quiet woman who had served his family faithfully for years. She had never caused trouble, never spoken out of turn. For her to risk everything like this meant something was terribly wrong. The congregation erupted in shocked whispers, but Grace held her ground, trembling with fear and determination. Rebecca found her voice first, screaming accusations and insults, but Grace didn't flinch. She had crossed a line she could never uncross, but she knew in her heart she was doing the right thing. Sometimes protecting someone you care about requires destroying the perfect moment to save them from a lifetime of pain. Michael's voice boomed across the cathedral, demanding silence. His wedding day had become a nightmare, but he needed answers. Grace reached into her apron with shaking hands and pulled out a manila envelope stuffed with documents. Her yellow gloves made the gesture seem surreal, like a worker revealing state secrets. "I found these in her room 2 nights ago," Grace announced, her voice carrying despite her terror. "Bank transfers, love letters, and photographs. She's done this before, Mr. Harrison. You're not her first victim." The envelope contained Rebecca Sterling's real life, a web of deception spanning 3 states and at least 5 different men, all wealthy, all convinced they were her one true love. Rebecca lunged forward, trying to snatch the evidence, but Grace stepped back. "Those are private papers. She stole them from my room." Rebecca shrieked, her carefully constructed mask finally slipping. "She's jealous because no man would ever love someone like her." The cruel words echoed through the church, revealing Rebecca's true nature to everyone present. Michael took the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were bank statements showing regular deposits from multiple men, passionate love letters addressed to "my darling wife" from someone named James, and photographs of Rebecca in wedding dresses with different grooms. Each document was a dagger to his heart, but he read them aloud so everyone could hear the truth. The most damaging piece was a handwritten note from James. "The millionaire is almost hooked. Once you're married, clean out his accounts and meet me in Mexico. Our retirement fund is almost complete, my love." Michael's voice cracked as he read, his dreams crumbling with each word. The congregation sat in stunned silence, watching a man's heart break in real time. Grace watched Michael's face change from confusion to betrayal to rage. She felt no satisfaction in being right, only deep sadness that someone she respected had been so cruelly deceived. Rebecca collapsed into sobs, but they seemed more like frustration than remorse. The truth was finally free, and nothing would ever be the same again. The cathedral erupted in chaos as Rebecca's sobs turned to desperate pleas. She threw herself at Michael's feet, clutching his legs and begging for forgiveness. "I love you, Michael. I was going to change after we married. I was going to be faithful." Her words rang hollow against the mountain of evidence scattered across the altar. Michael stepped back, his face a mask of cold fury. "You were ready to destroy me and call it love." His voice was deadly quiet, more frightening than any shout. "You stood in God's house, wearing white, and lied to everyone who cares about me." The congregation watched in fascination and horror as one of the city's most powerful men confronted his ultimate betrayal. Police sirens wailed outside. Someone had called 911 during the chaos. 2 officers entered the cathedral, their presence making everything suddenly real. This wasn't just a canceled wedding anymore. It was a crime scene. Rebecca's face went ashen as she realized the full consequences of her actions. The romantic fantasy was over, and harsh reality was walking through the church doors. Officer Rodriguez picked up the scattered evidence, while his partner approached Rebecca. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding fraud and identity theft." The handcuffs clicked shut around Rebecca's wrists as her wedding bouquet fell to the marble floor, white roses scattering like broken dreams. Her designer gown rustled as they led her toward the exit. Grace stood perfectly still, hardly believing what she had set in motion. Around her, 300 guests whispered and stared. Their afternoon of celebration transformed into something they would discuss for years. Some looked at her with admiration, others with shock, but all recognized that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a moment when truth conquered deception through one woman's incredible courage. Michael watched his former bride being led away in handcuffs, then turned to face the woman who had saved him. Grace Williams, still wearing her yellow cleaning gloves, had risked everything to protect him from a lifetime of lies. The maid had become the hero of his story. As the police car drove away with Rebecca, an odd calm settled over the cathedral. The guests began filing out quietly, many stopping to shake Grace's hand or offer words of support. What had started as her worst nightmare was becoming something entirely different, a moment of recognition that transcended all social boundaries. Michael approached Grace slowly, his expensive suit rumpled and his face showing the emotional toll of the day. When he reached her, he did something that shocked everyone present. He took off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. "You saved my life today, Grace. I will never forget what you did for me." Grace looked up at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was so scared, Mr. Harrison. I thought about staying quiet, but I couldn't let her hurt you. You've always been kind to me and my family." Her voice was barely a whisper, but her words carried more weight than any wedding vow ever spoken in that cathedral. From today forward, Michael announced to the remaining guests, Grace Williams will be promoted to estate manager of all my properties. She has shown more loyalty and courage than anyone I've ever known. The congregation burst into applause, many wiping away their own tears. Grace covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed by the sudden change in her fortune. 2 months later, Michael stood in his mansion's garden, watching Grace direct a team of landscapers with natural authority. She had proven to be brilliant at managing his properties, bringing efficiency and warmth to every operation. The yellow cleaning gloves were gone, replaced by confidence and respect from everyone who worked with her. The scandal had made headlines for weeks, but Michael felt only gratitude. Rebecca was facing federal fraud charges, and her web of victims was still being untangled. As for Grace, she had moved her elderly mother into a cottage on his estate and was putting her daughter through college with her new salary. Sometimes the most important moments in life come from the most unexpected sources. A maid's courage had exposed a millionaire's enemy and revealed who his true friends really were. Love might have been delayed, but justice had arrived right on time, delivered by someone brave enough to speak truth to power when it mattered most.